Some stories are so disturbing that even trained doctors, veteran police officers, and experienced priests walked away unable to explain what they had witnessed. We're talking about people speaking languages they never learned, violent personality changes that appeared out of nowhere, impossible strength, and rituals so terrifying that entire churches refused to talk about them afterward. Some of these cases inspired famous horror movies, while others ended in brutal tragedy and criminal investigations. But the truly unsettling part is that many of the people involved genuinely believed they were facing something evil that couldn't be explained by science alone. Tonight, we're diving into some of the most chilling alleged demonic possession cases ever recorded. And the final one is still debated to this very day. One of the most horrifying cases came from Yorkshire, England, involving a man named Michael Taylor. At first, Michael seemed completely ordinary. He and his wife Christine were deeply religious and attended a Christian prayer group led by a woman named Mary Robinson. But everything changed after rumors spread that Michael and Robinson were having an affair. During a tense church meeting, Christine publicly confronted them, and witnesses claimed Michael suddenly began acting strangely. His personality reportedly shifted in an instant. People described him growling, screaming, and showing violent behavior completely unlike him. Over the next few months, his condition only became more disturbing. Members of the church became convinced he was possessed, and eventually priests agreed to perform an exorcism that lasted more than 24 hours. According to reports, the priests claimed they removed dozens of demons from Michael's body, but they allegedly warned that one powerful entity still remained inside him. Nobody realized just how terrifying that warning would become. Hours after returning home from the ritual, Michael completely snapped. In what became one of Britain's most shocking murder cases, he brutally attacked his wife in a scene so violent that investigators were left speechless. Even the family dog was killed during the frenzy. When police finally found Michael wandering the streets naked and covered in blood, he reportedly screamed that it was the blood of Satan. What made the case even more chilling was that Michael later claimed he had absolutely no memory of the attack. To this day, some believe the exorcism triggered a psychological breakdown, while others believe something far darker was at work. But Michael Taylor's story wasn't the only case to leave witnesses terrified. The next man reportedly needed 7 priests to battle what they believed were 7 separate demons. Back in the 18th century, a man named George Lukens became one of England's most infamous possession cases. And first, people believed he was simply suffering from illness, but his condition quickly spiraled into something far stranger. Witnesses claimed George began suffering violent seizures, making animal-like noises, and speaking in bizarre voices that terrified everyone around him. As the episodes became more intense, George allegedly declared himself to be the devil. Fear spread through the town, and soon local priests became involved. According to reports, 7 different clergymen gathered at a church in Bristol to perform a massive exorcism ceremony. The moment the prayers began, George reportedly erupted into violent fits, barking, hissing, and threatening everyone in the room. Witnesses later claimed he cycled through multiple personalities during the ritual, each one more disturbing than the last. Whether it was possession or severe mental illness,
the case shocked the public and became one of the most talked about supernatural stories in Britain. But centuries later, an even stranger case would emerge, and this time, trained psychiatrists would become involved.
In 2008, a respected psychiatrist named Dr. Richard Gallagher revealed details about a woman he referred to only as Julia. Unlike many older possession stories, this case unfolded in modern times under medical observation. Gallagher explained that Julia appeared perfectly normal during interviews, but without warning, she would suddenly enter violent trance-like states. During these episodes, she allegedly screamed at priests in strange voices, while objects around the room reportedly moved or fell from shelves. Witnesses also claimed the temperature in the room changed rapidly during the rituals, shifting from freezing cold to unbearable heat within moments. But what truly disturbed Gallagher was Julia's behavior during exorcism sessions. According to his reports, voices speaking through her used languages she had never studied, including Latin. At one point, several adults struggled to physically restrain her because of what they described as impossible strength. Gallagher later admitted that despite his background in psychiatry, he couldn't fully explain everything he witnessed. And while that case was terrifying, the next story became so famous that it inspired one of the scariest horror movies ever made.
The story of Roland Doe remains one of the most legendary possession cases in American history. It began in the 1940s after the death of Roland's beloved aunt, who had introduced him to a Ouija board. Hoping to contact her spirit, Roland allegedly began using the board regularly. Soon after, strange events reportedly started happening inside the family home. Furniture moved across rooms on its own. Scratching sounds echoed through the walls at night. Religious objects mysteriously shattered. But the most disturbing reports involved Roland himself. His family claimed unexplained scratches appeared on his body, sometimes forming words. Witnesses also described seeing the boy's bed violently shaking while he slept. Doctors couldn't explain what was happening, and eventually priests were called in to investigate. What happened next would inspire decades of nightmares.
During one exorcism attempt, Roland reportedly broke free from restraints and attacked a priest using a sharp piece of broken bed frame. The ritual was immediately stopped, but the terrifying activity continued. Desperate for help, the family traveled to St. Louis, where another team of priests agreed to continue the exorcisms. Over the following weeks, more than 30 rituals were allegedly performed. Witnesses claimed Roland screamed in unnatural voices, thrashed violently, and reacted aggressively whenever prayers were spoken. Then, during the final ritual, those present described hearing a deafening sound echo through the hospital as Roland suddenly calmed down. Some even claimed the smell of sulfur filled the air moments before the activity stopped completely. Years later, the case became the main inspiration behind the movie The Exorcist, forever cementing Roland Doe's story in horror history. But unlike Roland, the next victim wouldn't survive her ordeal.
The case of Anneliese Michel remains one of the most controversial and heartbreaking possession stories ever documented.
Born in Germany, Anneliese struggled with epilepsy and mental health issues from a young age. But by the 1970s, her behavior reportedly became far more disturbing. According to her family, she began hearing voices, destroying religious objects, and refusing to enter churches. She also claimed dark entities were tormenting her constantly. Doctors attempted medical treatment, but when her condition continued getting worse, her family became convinced something supernatural was happening. Eventually, 2 priests were granted permission to perform exorcisms on her. Over the course of nearly a year, Anneliese underwent dozens of brutal rituals. Some sessions lasted for hours as she screamed.
As the months passed, Anneliese's physical condition rapidly deteriorated. She stopped eating properly, refused medical care, and became dangerously weak. Yet the exorcisms continued. By the time she died in 1976, at only 23 years old, she weighed less than many children. Her death shocked Germany and triggered a massive court case against both her parents and the priests involved. Some argued she was a victim of untreated mental illness, while others believed she truly thought she was fighting something evil. The controversy exploded worldwide after audio recordings from the rituals leaked online, reigniting debates that continue decades later. Even today, listeners remain disturbed by the sounds captured during those sessions. But as terrifying as these stories are, the scariest part may be what's happening right now, behind closed doors. Despite advances in science and psychology, exorcisms never disappeared. In fact, reports suggest that requests for exorcisms have increased dramatically in recent years. The Vatican still trains official exorcists, and some priests claim they regularly encounter cases they cannot explain. Skeptics argue that mental illness, trauma, and suggestion are responsible for these terrifying experiences. Believers insist there are some events science simply cannot answer. And that debate is exactly why these stories continue haunting people decades later. Because whether demons are real or not, the fear surrounding these cases feels very real to everyone involved. Maybe there's a rational explanation hidden behind every possession case. Maybe fear, religion, and psychological illness combine to create something that only appears supernatural. Or maybe there are forces we still don't fully understand. But one thing is certain. The people involved in these stories truly believed they were facing pure evil. And after hearing what happened to them, it becomes difficult not to wonder what you would believe if you had been standing in those rooms yourself, listening to those voices in the dark. Finally, I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss anything new from Sir 8S. Goodbye. See you in the next video.